Hello, this is Malcolm McDowell. In a world built on stories where heroes rise, villains fall, and meaning hides between the frames, one podcast has dared to explore it all. From galaxies far away to quiet corners of small-town coffee houses, they've sought the truth hidden in pop culture's pulse. The laughter, the light, and the lessons buried beneath the spectacle. This is Pop Culture Pastor.
Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody. I want to take you back to the early days of the internet.
So right after Al Gore invented it.
Yes. No, not right after, because that would have been way back. I mean, like the early days of the functional, useful internet. Because the internet did exist for a while before it got wide usage.
Yeah, Al Gore invented it.
Did he really, though? Is that really a thing? I know we joke about it. I'd love to know, like, the actual story. Why does... Because I think Alvis Gore really thinks... That's just what I call him.
Yes.
I think that's what he really thinks. Because he wouldn't have said that. That wasn't a joke, right?
South Park definitely said it as well. So,
So
factual.
I'd love to know why he thinks that. He's still alive, isn't he?
He's still with us.
Okay. Sometimes I don't know. If you listen to this pod a lot, you know that I can sometimes lose track of who's still with us and who's not.
So this might have been around the time that George W. Bush told me there were multiple internets.
Well, you know, like mid to late 90s is kind of when I think of the information superhighway, as it were, just really starting to kind of explode.
So in between Al Gore inventing the internet and George W. Bush telling me about the internets.
Sure.
This is how I map things in my head.
Okay, millennial. All right. This is Pop Culture Pastor, the podcast. My name is Dave. Cody's here.
I am.
And I'm asking you all this. I'm trying to intro something here because I wanted to talk about the Blair Witch Project here in the news segment.
Hey, I've watched that.
Yeah. You couldn't have seen that in the theater. You'd have been 10 years old.
My parents did not take me, if that's what you're wondering.
That would have been awesome if they did, though. That'd have been a fun story. That would have been a scary experience for a kid, but someone did it. There's someone in America who's got this stuff. If you're a listener right now, and as a child, you were taken to see the Blair Witch Project in movie theaters, you need to let us know because we need to have you on the pod. We need to break this down.
That would have been my second movie in movie theaters if it had been.
Yeah, I'm convinced that person is out there.
I want to meet the person that was their first movie experience.
Oh, yeah. Just if you have any noteworthy experience with Blair Witch Project in movie theaters, because it came out in 1999, then please let us know on social media. I bring that up because after years of the original, there was an original 3, Heather Donahue, Joshua Leonard, and Michael C. Williams. Okay, I'm confused because Heather Donahue has eventually officially changed her name at some point.
Oh, that happens.
She's Ray Hance, I guess. Reihance. So those 3, the original Blair Witch team, the 3 students who came up with it, after in the past having said that Lionsgate did nothing to try and bring them into the loop or keep them in the loop when they did the sequels and all that. They just kind of dropped them. They have been invited back, apparently, to come on board the reboot that Lionsgate is working on. Cody's
Why?
Cody's sighing. So I think I know your answer to this question already. Do we need a reboot?
Nope.
Of the Blair Witch Project?
You had lightning in a bottle with that particular project because the found footage craze had not started yet or hadn't made it big yet. The marketing for this and lack of availability of information made you believe this really did happen because everything they put out said based on a true story or this is found footage, and it's true. It's factual.
What Cody said is right. This is the first found footage movie. It was not a thing before this. I mean, it really hits at a sweet spot. When Cody says they captured lightning in a bottle, they did. It's the early days of the internet, and people aren't really sure what it is yet.
Yeah.
And so when this movie comes out and it's all framed in this kind of place of, this is found footage. We found it. This really happened. Apparently it's recorded, and there's internet sites with these missing people on them who are, nobodies, right?
Yeah.
That went into it too. They're not Hollywood people. And so people bought into it. And I guarantee you there are still adults out there to this day who think that this really happened.
So my wife, she did watch this as a kid, and she told me that I thought that this really happened and that they were really dead until like the MTV Movie Awards.
Yes.
Because they make an appearance there and everyone's like, what?
A very famous appearance.
Yes.
At the MTV Movie Awards. Yeah. This movie was huge in that way, in a very, maybe the first like meta zeitgeisty sort of thing with the internet. They can't do found footage, right? This has got to be like a story.
So, I mean, found footage films are now its own genre, and there's several people, mass of people that enjoy them.
But it's kind of played out.
In my opinion, yes. And in yours, yes. But within theirs, no. It's kind of like when they kept making all the Halloween movies and all the Freddys and Jasons. There's just that group of people that are going to watch it no matter what, even if it's the worst thing you've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Would it change your mind at all? Because I can tell you're not excited about this.
I am not.
Would it change your mind at all if I said it was a partnership between Lionsgate and Blumhouse Atomic Monster, which is a conglomerated hub formed by Jason Blum and James Want production companies? So it's like a Blumhouse Lionsgate joint. Would that change your mind at all?
There are Blumhouse projects that are really, really good, but then there's some that it's like, why did you make this?
Right. Yeah.
And sequels and reboots, because I feel like Megan was a Blumhouse joint, and they made a sequel to Megan, and that movie didn't need a sequel.
Okay, a spokesperson for Lionsgate told Entertainment Weekly the company had no comment on the past dispute from these original people. And Rance did not immediately respond for comment. So apparently it's just the other two. The third one, Heather Donahue, who's now Ray Hance. Here we go. In 2020, she formally changed her name. In a 2021 interview, she was paid a sum of money for the use of her likeness in the sequel, but it followed 8 years of constant failure in her own life. And so, yeah, she had an addiction problem for a couple years and was highly depressed, didn't want to be alive anymore. So she has subsequently become sober and relocated and, yeah, just changed her name. Interesting. She's a practicing Buddhist, it says here on Wikipedia. But that's interesting. Is that a Buddhist thing to change your name?
I mean, I feel it does happen, but also it could just be making a new start.
Well, good for her. That's cool.
I feel Steven Seagal has a different name.
Yeah, he probably did it for far less cool reasons.
He's Buddhist.
Is he, though? Yeah, that's right.
Yes, he is. Legendary blues rock singer.
Obviously.
Steven Seagal is a Buddhist.
Cody and I are ministers, so we do not have a lot of experience with Buddhism. So if
I actually do.
Oh, okay. Just make me look stupid here on the podcast. Please tell me. Enlighten me on Buddhism.
So I had a professor who was an ordained Lutheran, but was like a practicing Buddhist. And so...
Wait, you can be both?
That's how he rolled, and he was married to a Methodist pastor. She was nice.
This sounds like an interesting character that we probably should have on the pod. So not a lot of information on the forthcoming reboot, but I would have to imagine that it's with Blumhouse attached to it. They're really going to dig into like an actual scripted story of some sort.
I hope.
So yeah, build out the early mythology of it.
Yes.
I assume this movie would be a period piece, because if it's American supernatural things, we're talking like colonial days, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And I can already guess where that story's going because horror tropes abound for that time, and they're all kind of the same. Witch movies, I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I only watched that once.
I've watched it once as an adult. I watched it as the year after it came out. My parents did rent it on VHS, and I got to watch it for Halloween that year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Your parents rented it for you. Look at you.
Rebel.
All right. Yeah, that was the Blair Witch Project stuff. So, reboot incoming. Tell us what you thought of especially if you had an experience where your parents took you to it at the theater when you were still a kid, because that would be hilarious to listen to. Anyways, it's time, Cody, for a Be Kind Rewind. We saw and watched What About Bob, and we're going to talk about it coming up next. All right, Cody, baby steps to the microphone. Baby steps to open up my notes. Baby steps to introduce you. Hi, there's Cody. He's right here.
I am.
Baby steps, Cody. Baby steps.
I do have thoughts on that, but we'll save those for later.
I knew this would be a good one for Cody because, I have questions too. Because I had some thoughts watching this. Thoughts I didn't have when I was young and watching this movie, where it's just, a charming Bill Murray early 90s movie. And now I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, there's actual real mental health things going on here. And I'm wondering if any of this is healthy.
I was agitated at so many people while watching this movie. I don't know if that was what I was supposed to take out of it.
What About Bob is the movie we watched. It came out in 1991. Directed by Frank Oz on a budget of $39 million, made something like $70 million.
Is that the Frank Oz?
The Frank Oz. Yes, that's that Frank Oz. 82% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics. Metacritic 60 out of 100, which was mixed at the time. Roger Ebert gave it a thumbs up. Siskel Gene gave it a thumbs down.
I can believe that.
Yeah. Frank Oz, and yes, that Frank Oz, the voice of Yoda, of Miss Piggy, of Fozzie Bear, Grover, which is a direct connection to the Labyrinth episode. Our last Be Kind Rewind.
That did not feature Bill Murray.
No, it did not. But anything, you add Bill Murray to anything, it makes it better. I believe that's the rule of Zombieland.
And Garfield.
So Frank Oz is the director. Screenplay by the guy who wrote Dead Poets Society. And of course stars Bill Murray as Bob Wiley, Richard Dreyfuss as Dr. Leo Marvin. You've got Catherine Irby, who plays the daughter, who is now in Law and Order
Criminal Intent.
Criminal Las Vegas, Nevada, Missouri. I don't know, some iteration of Law and Order, but she's recognizable.
With Kingpin.
In fact, when I watched this movie as a young person and rewatched it subsequently when it would be on like TV or whatever, I would look at the daughter and think she's the only one in here who's an unknown. Like, she didn't really do much, but then she shows up on whatever Law and Order she is, and she has become quite recognizable. Charlie Korsmo plays the son, who Charlie Korsmo, I'll talk about him a little later. He was actually,
Siggy?
Yeah, he's actually a big deal. He was a big child star. He was in Dick Tracy with Warren Beatty and Madonna, which was a huge movie the summer it came out.
Rest in peace.
And Julie Haggerty, who's a very recognizable character actress, played Faye Marvin, Dr. Leo's wife. And so that's pretty much the cast right there. It made $63 million, 15th highest grossing film of 1991. The second highest grossing Buena Vista release behind Father of the Bride. Thought you might like that. Number 43 on Bravo's 100 Funniest Movies list, Cody.
Really?
Yeah, a little high. I enjoy this movie, but I don't know if it's in the top 50 funniest movies of all time.
Can I introduce them to Adam Sandler or some of Bill Murray's other works?
Yeah, I'm not sure when Bravo put out their 100 funniest movies list, but that's just on my list of accolades here. And yeah, so this movie's about a successful psychotherapist who slowly loses his mind after one of his dependent patients, an obsessive compulsive man, tracks him down during his family vacation. That's essentially a one-line summary.
Is that the official blurb?
No, it's not. Do you want me to read the official blurb?
I was going to say, because they kept saying that he was a psychiatrist during this.
Oh, did they? Okay. I will read you the official blurb. Here it is. Before going on vacation, self-involved psychiatrist Dr. Leo Marvin, played by Richard Dreyfuss, has the misfortune of taking on a new patient, Bob Wiley, played by Bill Murray, an exemplar of neediness and a compendium of phobias. Who wrote this? Bob follows Marvin to his family's country house. Dr. Marvin tries to get him to leave. The trouble is, everyone loves Bob. As his oblivious patient makes himself at home, Dr. Marvin loses his professional composure and before long may be ready for the loony bin himself.
Yeah.
They do call him a psychiatrist in the official blurb.
Which throughout, I'm like, okay, I'm taking note. And then by the end, one of the characters becomes a psychologist.
Yeah. So Cody, as someone who works in the therapizing, did you watch this differently, or do you watch this differently than other people?
This is my second viewing, and the first viewing I did because I was told you should watch this for your sermon illustration. So
of
this
course,
was
naturally
about like 4 years ago, and I had not become a licensed master of social work / outpatient clinician. So like,
it's a long title.
It is, but I hadn't viewed it through that lens. I had only viewed it through like, I'm going to sit back, watch, see if there's anything that I can use for my sermon and enjoy Bill Murray. This time, there definitely were things that I picked up on, and this might be a movie that I don't think could be remade today.
Yeah, they're a little cavalier with the mental health stuff.
They're a bit cavalier with that, but also there's laws that have changed. So like there's several things that I'm like, oh, you can't do that. And then I'm looking it up and it's like, oh, Bill Clinton didn't sign the HIPAA legislation until 1996. So Bob getting introduced to the family could have happened before then, before 1996, but could not happen now. Like he couldn't even really acknowledge Bob except Bob saying, this is my psychiatrist.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was going to ask you, I had questions that I was starting to think of or write down where I was going to say, have you had patients who reminded you of Bob? Nope. Can't really ask him that. Have you ever been a Leo? I guess I could ask you if you've ever been a Dr. Leo.
I have not written a book yet.
That's not the part I was talking about. But yeah, it's a movie that's sort of in a weird time. And
yes.
Doesn't seem like a movie that could get made today. It does date itself. It does feel very late 80s, early 90s. Let's talk about some things behind the scenes because this is a very well documented movie, as it turns out.
So I was going to ask, because Bill Murray notoriously can be tough to work with.
Yeah.
But I believe my friend Richard Dreyfuss also a bit notoriously rough to get along with.
Yeah, okay. So that was down my list a little bit, but let's go ahead and hit that one first because that is the big thing. Because this is maybe one of the most documented on-set feuds in Hollywood history. So here is the full picture. So Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss do not like each other. But it starts before most people are aware. So the feud has roots that goes back to 1978. Richard Dreyfuss hosted Saturday Night Live just weeks after winning the Best Actor Oscar for Goodbye Girl at age 30, which at the time he was the youngest Best Actor winner in history. Bill Murray was a rookie cast member. And according to Vanity Fair's oral history of SNL, the cast didn't really take well to hosts as that they perceived were self-important.
Yep.
And John Belushi started messing with Richard Dreyfuss, like psychologically. He was pretending to be sick all week, so Dreyfuss would think the show was going to be a disaster. And during the actual broadcast, Belushi is like heckling him during a Hamlet monologue of some sort. And during Weekend Update, Bill Murray is also kind of heckling him during his review. He did some review of Oscar winners. So Dreyfuss tells Rolling Stone in 2025, he said, "I recognized back then that Bill Murray didn't seem to like me, but he didn't seem to like anybody. I saw him interact with the other Saturday Night Live members, and Bill had this really sarcastic attitude. He was sarcastic to everybody." So when they were cast together in this movie, there was already this like 12 years of, I'm not so sure about that guy.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about the casting because Richard Dreyfuss isn't the first choice. Disney had Tom Hanks as their first choice for Bob.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, Hanks turned it down. Robin Williams also was considered for the part of Bob. And when the studio finally landed on Bill Murray, the search for Dr. Leo was still wide open. They were circling around Jack Nicholson, Michael Caine, Alan Arkin, Bob Newhart, even Patrick Stewart, which is kind of wild to think about.
Jack would have been great.
But for a while, who they really wanted was Woody Allen. They approached him and they wanted him to direct and co-write it, but he turned it down, which...
Honestly, it feels like a Woody Allen role.
Except, I think Woody is maybe too likable. Is that weird to say? Because I don't think of Woody as likable now, but I think back then Woody was very likable.
He oftentimes was the lovable loser.
Yes, exactly.
Where I do think he has the loser quality. This character does by the end of it, but his family at times shows that they care about him, not too much. But I think you would have a different outlook on that character if Woody Allen was playing it versus Richard.
Yeah, any of those casts changes the movie greatly, and that one might have changed it the most because Richard Dreyfuss plays this character with a lot of bite.
Yes,
he is not very likable. And in August of 1990, they cast Richard Dreyfuss. He's the last person cast. Principal photography had already started. So Richard Dreyfuss comes in late, knowing he's going to be working with this guy who'd heckled him back in 1978. Now, the film is shot primarily in Monetta, Virginia, which made the Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshireans mad because there actually is a Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshire, and they didn't actually film there.
If you've ever been, you know why.
Yeah. Nice. Keep wishing, Lake Winnipesaukee. No, I say that because the people there said it wasn't like you were shooting in a big city where you could go out to dinner, go to restaurants or whatever afterwards after shooting was done. They were all pretty much prisoners, so to speak, because it was a very small place. And one of the cast members said it was the moonshine capital of the U.S. because it was a dry county, meaning they couldn't sell alcohol. And Murray reportedly would throw these parties on weekends, and he had a boat. He took the cast water skiing under the full moon at night. And so part of what makes this story what it is that Murray is simultaneously the fun-loving guy who the crew all loves, and he's making life miserable for Dreyfuss. Now think about what that means. He's literally playing the part outside of the movie. That's the story. And so the shoot is running over schedule. They're in a small town where there's no way for him to escape it. And there's just a lot of tension. So here are the incidents. There's main incidents here. All of this is so amazing. That's why I'm going to go through all of it.
Yes.
And because it's very well documented. So Murray throws a glass during a heated argument about the script. And for years, Richard Dreyfuss claimed Murray threw it at him. But in 2025, Bill Murray addressed it to the New York Times. He said, "I did fire a glass, but I threw it at the ceiling. We were in a townhouse on the set of What About Bob, and I didn't fire it at anyone. I threw it up in a far corner of the townhouse, and I assumed it would break upon contact, but I didn't throw it at anyone." He said, if I'd have thrown it at Richard, I'd have hit him.
I believe it.
And Frank Oz confirmed that. He said, yeah, that's what happened. So incident 2, and this is the big one. According to Richard Dreyfuss, on a different night, Bill comes back from dinner drunk. And Dreyfuss said in a 2019 Yahoo interview, quote, I didn't talk about it for years, but Bill just got drunk one night at dinner and he was an Irish drunken bully, is what he was. He came back from dinner one night and I said, read this script tweak. I think it's really funny. And he put his face next to me, nose to nose, and screamed at the top of his lungs, everyone hates you. You are tolerated.
William.
He said there was no time to react because he leaned back and he took a modern glass blown ashtray. He threw it at my face from only a couple of feet away. And he said it weighed about 3/4 of a pound and it missed me. He tried to hit me and I got up and left. Murray has never publicly denied the ashtray incident, which would seem to maybe confirm that, yes, he was inebriated and yes, that probably happened. But he's only addressed the glass for whatever that's worth to you. Incident 3.
Oh, there's more.
Producer Laura Ziskin had her own feud with Bill Murray. According to Richard Dreyfuss' son, Ben, in a 2022 tweet, Bill Murray had a meltdown because he wanted an extra day off, and Ziskin said no, and Murray ripped off her sunglasses and crushed them. Now, Frank Oz later says in a Rolling Stone oral history, I thought at the time he crushed her sunglasses for personal reasons, but it made sense to me to hear that it was for the crew. He really cared about the crew. You buying that, Cody?
I think that's a good PR statement.
Yeah. Ziskin herself told the Baltimore Sun that Bill also threatened to throw me across the parking lot. He broke my sunglasses. He threw them across the parking lot. I was furious and outraged at the time, but having produced a dozen movies, I can safely say that is not common behavior. Okay. He also threw her in a lake. Bill Murray threw her in the lake. Now, this was apparently...
The executive producer?
Yes. So Charlie Korsmo, who played Siggy, confirmed it in the Rolling Stone oral history. He said he guessed, he thinks it was supposed to be funny, a joke, but I don't think she thought it was funny. But Ziskin did call it later on playful, that he was being playful. But they had had an argument before it.
Oh.
And so it seemed not playful to her, but yeah. So everyone at one point walks off the production. They fly back to LA, and it only resumes after Disney, who's the parent company at the time, hired bodyguards to physically separate Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray in between takes. So Disney literally had to hire security to keep the two leads apart. And finally, this is like the breaking point in the Rolling Stone history. They're filming the climactic death therapy scene where Dreyfuss is strapping explosives to Murray. And tensions had been at peak levels for weeks. And Dreyfuss and Murray weren't speaking off camera. And Frank Oz is simultaneously fighting with Laura Ziskin. So he wasn't getting along with the producer about the end of the film, which, yeah, that checks out.
I believe it.
And one night in the woods, Frank Oz cracked. Set photographer Barry Wetcher said this, quote, it sounded like an animal was being slaughtered. It was Frank Oz screaming. And so Oz himself said, remember in the old Woody Woodpecker cartoons where the thermometer goes up and up and up until it explodes? Yeah, that's what it sounded like. So he just got so fed up with it all because you had a Bill Murray, Richard Dreyfuss feud. You had a Bill Murray, Laura Ziskin feud. You had a Frank Oz, Laura Ziskin feud. Eventually he kicks her off set completely. The producer.
Bill and Lauren, what are you doing?
And Frank Oz and Richard Dreyfuss's relationship was strained as well. They only spoke through a middleman because it appeared to Richard that Oz was taking Bill Murray's side.
At this moment in time, I think Bill's the bigger deal. And so, yeah, you side with Bill Murray or you try to play to his ego.
Yeah, the weird thing is, Cody, is that Bill Murray is definitely the bigger deal from a standpoint of like movies and money and entertainment. But Richard Dreyfuss is like a very
accomplished thespian.
Yeah, he's a huge actor. So it's interesting that, yeah, that this is how all this plays out. But Murray has been reluctant to go on the record, but over the years he said some things. And Howard Stern in 2014, he said, I really try to make the other actor look good whenever I can. And in this particular film, I was annoying Richard, which I kind of got to enjoy, if I'm confessing. But I didn't try to annoy him off the screen. He said, but the script wasn't nearly as annoying as I could be, so I improvised a lot. And there's always more annoying behavior right below the surface, he said. And so when I would talk to him, I'd get real close to crowd him. I put my head on his shoulder, scream into his ear. I did all sorts of annoying things. I was making it all up as I go, but it was quite liberating for me to play someone like that. So Murray's defense essentially is he was Bob. The character bled into reality a little bit. And this is my favorite part about all of this big feud, is despite everything, Richard Dreyfuss has been remarkably consistent. He's talked a lot about this. He hates Bill Murray, but the movie works, right? This is people remember this movie fondly. In 2009, he said, funny movie, terribly unpleasant experience. We didn't get along, me and Bill Murray, but I've got to give this to him. Even though I don't like him, he makes me laugh even now when I watch him. He said, I'm also jealous that he's a better golfer than I am. In 2025, Dreyfuss said to Rolling Stone that Bill Murray is the reason that people still watch this movie. And he's right. But I love the honesty in that, Cody, because are artists better at seeing the cost of brilliance in each other? Because we've talked about this a lot with Chevy Chase recently. And here's Richard Dreyfuss, who doesn't like the man, but then also says he's the reason this movie lives on.
Which he's not wrong. Yeah, Dreyfuss gives a great performance, but there's not any one particular scene with Dreyfuss where you're like, oh, that's memorable. Yeah. It is literally Bill Murray's shenanigans that you're like, oh, baby steps to the door.
Yeah.
Baby steps on the bus.
And this is peak Bill Murray. This is right in the middle of like his glory years as far as comedy goes, especially comedy. The other little thing I wanted to point out behind the scenes, I already talked about a little bit, but Charlie Korsmo, who played Siggy, who was a child star at the time and a huge child star. So he debuts in Dick Tracy, which was a huge summer blockbuster movie. He's in Hook, if you remember Hook.
Very familiar.
Then he quit acting. He just quit to pursue academics. He's an MIT educated lawyer and is now a law professor. So
get on his level.
I just thought I'd point that out because so many times we hear about child actors who go off the rails, and here's this guy who disappeared from the public eye and, still made a lot out of his life. So it's good stuff.
MIT.
Whew, okay. So we've talked about the feud. Now we can move on to the next thing.
Family Feud with Steve Harvey.
Muppetize the movie. Close, Cody. Muppetize the movie.
Okay. I went back and forth.
Seems like you're picking one or the other, right?
Yeah, you have to either keep Bill or you have to keep Richard, just because shenanigans can occur either way, that you would want someone of that caliber to be there. So since Sir Michael Caine has already played someone like very serious with the Muppets, I want someone a bit more absurd, so I'll go with keeping Bill Murray. I'll have Kermit be Dr. Leo Marvin.
That's a good choice, yeah. That makes sense.
It was nearly Gonzo, but then I decided that Gonzo could be Siggy. I almost did completely recast both of them and just kept Mrs. Gutman.
That would have been amazing, actually.
I'm having her be played by Miss Piggy.
The Gutmans are great.
Honestly, might be my favorite part of the whole movie.
I love that they have no qualms about hiding that they just are bitter toward this man.
They're transparent and open about their issues.
Yeah, so I went the opposite direction of you. I kept Richard Dreyfuss as Dr. Leo Marvin. I would have Fozzie be Bob.
Yes.
Because Fozzie already has a codependency problem and he can't read a room, right? That's his big deal. Fozzie,
natural.
Tied to the mast, yelling, I'm sailing, waka waka, would have made the movie for me. Faye, Bob's wife, I would have played by the Muppet Janice, Because I could just hear like, really, like totally, you know, like that kind of energy. The wife is kind of quirky, but
Yes.
Janice the Muppet would play it kind of hippy dippy. And here's my favorite pick, the Gutmans. I would have the grumpy old couple, Statler and Waldorf. I would have just them play the Gutmans, just them, and I wouldn't explain it at all. Like I would just say, like they would have the same total backstory and everything, and I wouldn't explain it. Just that Statler and Waldorf would be them, and they'd be like heckling Dr. Bob. It was like, oh look, it's the doctor. What's he a doctor of? Being insufferable. You know, like just their, you know, like their kind of atmosphere. I just thought that would be super fun without explaining their relationship at all.
Yep.
You can go wherever you want to go with him. But yeah, that would be my Muppetize. Cody, what holds up?
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps actually does hold up.
That's what people remember the most.
Because it actually isn't bad therapeutic advice. It fits well within like cognitive behavioral therapy, that you can't conquer everything in one setting, that like, oh, you got to break it up into small manageable pieces to achieve your end goal.
Yeah.
And so baby steps, like if I want to be able to sit in the nosebleeds of Arrowhead Stadium to watch the World Cup, but I have a fear of heights and a fear of large crowds, I probably shouldn't just go buy the ticket and test my luck. I need to expose myself gradually.
Also, I have a Funko of Bob Wiley where he's holding Gil, the goldfish, and the book Baby Steps while wearing that Don't Hassle Me on Local t-shirt.
I was going to say there's a couple different Bob Funkos.
Yeah.
No one else gets a Funko from this movie.
Don't need it.
But Bob has a couple different ones. And I'm like, how does this work out?
I'm glad you mentioned Baby Steps first because this kind of goes with it. The pacing of the movie. What holds up for me is the pacing. It's about 100 minutes. That's it. And it really moves. Frank Oz doesn't really waste much time in this movie. And I think that's the only reason the movie still kind of works in 2026 is partly because the premise is, you know, genuinely laughable when you really stop to think about it. A deeply unwell man stalks his therapist on family vacation and everyone learns to love him, which that's sort of a bonkers premise. Just on its own. The only way it works is if you don't give the audience a lot of time to question it. You just go along for the ride. And I think Frank Oz understood that. The speed at which Bob gets transferred to Dr. Marvin is kind of a great example because the previous therapist is fed up, makes one phone call. Bob's now Leo's problem. In fact, the whole transition takes like 2 minutes in the movie. He's like there at his office.
Yes.
And I could see some other filmmakers doing comedies letting that play out, maybe establishing the previous therapist, showing the transition, doing a montage, kind of padding it. And I think that would have been a mistake. So
probably.
Yeah. The pacing was what does it for me. What else holds up?
The cast.
Oh, the cast. Shocking.
You didn't see that one coming. We've already talked. Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss, both very accomplished actors.
Oh, I'm going to talk about them more.
I'm glad you will. Catherine Irby, she is great in that Law and Order series that she's in, Criminal Intent. And then you told me that Charlie Korsmo was a big deal.
He was. He actually was.
Like Julie Haggerty just is one of those like familiar faces. Like, hey, aren't you the lady from Airplane?
Yeah, she's been in a lot of comedies.
And then like, oh, you were also in this movie and you were in that movie and you just are delightful in whatever movie you're in.
Yeah, I'll back this up. I want to talk about Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray because we talked about the feud, but let's just talk about their performance because Richard Dreyfuss holds up incredibly well in this. He plays smarmy and self-absorbed at like this master class level. Leo Marvin, I would say, is one of the great comedy villains of the 90s. And the reason he works well is because Dreyfuss doesn't really play him as a cartoon until the script demands he does later on. We'll talk about that. But Leo genuinely believes he's the smartest guy in every room. He genuinely believes that his book Baby Steps is going to change the world. He genuinely believes he's a great husband and father. And Cody, he's none of those things.
It's hilarious when the other psychiatrist or therapist calls him up.
Yeah. They all hate him.
You and Mother Teresa of Calcutta.
Yeah, they're trying to butter him up because they know how to hit his spots.
That he has a really big ego.
Yeah. So simultaneously, because Dreyfuss plays this with all conviction, you simultaneously see and feel that he is good at what he does. He thinks he's even better, but all the psychiatrists around him and all the people around him kind of instinctively know that he's overinflated his sense of self-worth.
Yep.
So I just thought Richard Dreyfuss was great, and he's been on record as saying this, he hated this movie, but you never know it from his performance. So Bill Murray, on the other hand, who, like, listen, he's a legend. This is an iconic movie from Bill Murray. When people list Bill Murray movies, this one's going to get listed. He's at the peak of his comedic powers in 1991. So you have Stripes and Caddyshack and Ghostbusters and Scrooged in front of this, and then this hits just before Groundhog Day. So this is huge. And what he does with Bob Wiley is something that almost no other actor, I think, could do. Bob on paper, if you just look at the character of Bob, he's unbearable. He's a nightmare. He's everything you'd never want in another human being that's locked on to you.
Yes.
So Murray makes him lovable. He plays Bob with this like childlike sweetness. He's got a complete absence of like anger or malice. He's very much like Will Ferrell, but I think he does something that Will Ferrell can't do. Like Will Ferrell sells out on the role and can do childlike, but I don't know that Will Ferrell brings the sweetness underneath the surface like Bill Murray does. There's something about Bill Murray you just love, even if he's not necessarily treating you very well. So you genuinely believe that Bob doesn't understand that he's ruining anybody's life. And that's the trick here. If Bob is even slightly aware of what he's doing to Leo, Cody, the movie collapses. You would feel for Leo. And the point of this is you're not supposed to feel for Leo at all.
I did feel for Leo.
Because you're in the biz, right?
I am in the biz.
Murray plays him completely sincere. He's completely committed. And the I'm sailing scene is a great example of that. Because as written, that scene is nothing special or witty about it. But when you see Murray's face as he's acting it out, and he looks so joyful while also being completely unaware of the irony of his claim as he has been affixed to the mast, he's not really sailing. That's the joke. But his face sells it. And that became one of the most iconic scenes. And that's just Bill Murray. So, yeah, Bill Murray, he holds up. Great.
He does.
Greatness. Anything else that holds up? Or are we moving on?
The Gutmans.
The Gutmans are great. We talked about them a little.
Whether they're in the diner, whether they're dropping off Bob, whether they're out on the boat at night. They are hilarious.
Mr. Gutman, played by Tom Aldridge, is a recognizable guy. He's been in many, many things. Batteries Not Included was one, and Other People's Money with Danny DeVito. He's been in some things, and he seems recognizable to me. But I didn't know the lady.
Mrs. Gutman.
Mrs. Gutman. Cody, what doesn't hold up?
This film, it doesn't work today. And it doesn't work for a couple different reasons. So you could say, especially the people that get bothered by the toxicity of certain individuals.
Yeah.
My friend Richard and my friend William both have a bit of a history of being tough to work with. And so that might turn some people off.
Right.
But throughout this, I think with our TikTok culture, especially with our brief hits of mental health stuff on the surface, when TikTok does mental health things, it looks like it's good, looks like it's solid. But usually you just get like the surface layer and then like people run with it and then you got a lot of misinformation and stuff. But like my wife's like, oh, this family's enabling Bob throughout the whole thing and completely just gaslighting the husband. And I'm like, you're not wrong. There's no patient provider boundaries, even though Dr. Leo does try to set that up.
He tries, but then he violates all the boundaries that were left.
And then HIPAA, like I said, really wasn't a thing yet. There's several aspects from like mental health provider standpoint that like, this doesn't hold up, or you couldn't do this today. I don't think that an audience much younger than me, so I'm 37. I think if you're 30 or younger, this movie's completely lost on you.
Yeah, it'd be a foreign experience.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting that Bob himself, Bill Murray's character. Yeah, I don't think younger people would like this. I don't understand how this movie hasn't gotten the Friends treatment, where young people revisit this and go like, this character's terrible.
He's the worst.
And then we have to have that conversation of like, yeah, we just kind of enjoyed entertainment like this, where we understand he's not the best, but he's endearing. But I do think there's something in the way Richard Dreyfuss talks about Bill Murray that's something that's been kind of lost on the current times, where he can say something like, yeah, he doesn't like me, I don't really like him, but whatever. The movie worked. It was largely because of him, and that's great. Whereas most people would stop at whatever. No, whatever. You don't like him, he doesn't like you. Forget that guy.
I do think that it's very nuanced of my friend Richard.
Yeah, it is. It is. What doesn't hold up for me, Cody, is the third act.
Yeah.
The movie spends the first two acts being kind of a really sharp character comedy. It's very grounded. It's about a needy patient and an uptight therapist and his family kind of caught in the middle. And the comedy comes from the personalities clashing in a very real way. And then somewhere around the time Dr. Leo decides to commit Bob to the psychiatric ward, the movie just kind of runs off the rails entirely.
It becomes a lot more slapstickish and over the top.
Yes, it's very much like the Roadrunner and Wiley Coyote almost.
Yes.
Because Bob is committed, and then Bob makes friends with all the doctors and patients in like 30 seconds and gets released. And Dr. Leo, by this point, completely done, drives Bob out to the woods, ties explosives to his chest, and tells him, death therapy, Bob, it's the only cure. And in that moment, the movie has gone from a grounded character comedy to this Looney Tunes-ish kind of cartoon in the span of a few minutes. And you can really see why Frank Oz and the producer had some problems talking about the end of this movie.
I want to know who came up with the end of this movie.
Yeah. One of those, it's clear that one of those was for it and one of those was against it, right? Because the end of this movie is bonkers. It does not hold up in any way. Bill Murray has himself said in 2025 that not everything in this movie holds up. And I have to think he's at least partially talking about the third act. And it's not that the third act is devoid of anything funny. Some of it does land as funny, but tonally, it's way off from the rest of the movie. Whereas the first two acts kind of earn the comedy through the characters, and it's actually very sweet at times. The third act really just abandons that. The movie goes from kind of this clever premise to let's just blow up this house and end the movie.
Yeah.
And it's kind of jolting.
And, oh, by the way, Bob is now a psychologist, and Bob has written a bestseller book.
Yeah, right?
Like, we just quickly rush through everything.
And why is Dr. Leo not in prison?
Especially since he broke into that store and stole the explosives.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that doesn't hold up?
That third act was a train wreck for me to watch.
Yeah, it's bad.
I've known several people that have worked at psych hospitals. Mm-hmm. They would be well aware that there are people that can present very well for a long period of time. But if a physician is trying to refer them, that there must be a logical reason. Now, with that being said, the reason that he refers him isn't very logical, but like...
Yeah, they're not just throwing him out, though.
Yes, they're not throwing him out.
They're keeping him for at least a week.
The 24 hours of observation, because that's what the lady said, like, initially we can only take him 24 hours, but if our doctors observe something, then we can keep him for a week or longer. And so, like, they would have kept him the full 24. They would then have called up and said, hey, we're not seeing it. He must be having a good moment.
Well, not just that, but, like, I'm not even in that field, and I am familiar with the type of person who's got real issues, but for small amounts of time has a personality that such can be very warm and engaging and likable. And in small doses, I mean, these are like a lot of like narcissistic type behaviors, but you like them. Like there's a kind of narcissistic that's super obvious and, we don't like it when we see it, but there's also this kind that actually people are drawn to, where someone can like, what's the word I'm looking for? Their affect can actually draw you to them. And in moments for periods of time, they can actually seem very likable, very warm. You really want to be around that kind of person. They're magnetic. And like, I would think they would all be well aware of people like that.
They teach you how to dive off the dock.
Yes, right. Yeah, the whole time I'm watching this movie, Cody, now as an adult with a family, I'm like, no one should ever take in someone who you openly know is a patient. Like, no, this is a terrible idea. I have people that I know personally that I don't want around my kids.
Not for that long.
Nothing bad, but just like, yeah, their behaviors, their whatever. And now you're just this family's just okay with not just letting him in, but letting him room with the kid.
Yeah.
What?
And like the fake Tourette's that that he then teaches the kid.
Yeah.
No. And like, why are you so dismissive of your husband? That part was bothersome. Like throughout the movie, I'm watching and I'm like, everything he wants to do or accomplish, Bob actually does it, and or Bob helps him do it, because like when he does the interview, Bob being there actually probably helps boost the likability of the interview and potential sales of the book. But he can't handle seeing Bob accomplish the things like teaching his son how to dive off the dock.
That's Dr. Marvin's, Dr. Leo's own fault, though.
Yes. Also, family. Why are you letting this guy in?
Yes.
Like, I was okay with if he consented to being on the interview, letting him be on the interview, but like being around the family, going sailing with the daughter. You're not sailing with my teenage daughter. Patient I've met once and told I would be gone for a month, and you have stalked me to this location.
Yeah, there's a scenario where this is like, you could make up a trailer where this is a horror movie a la Cape Fear.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is essentially the plot of Cape Fear. Okay, there was one other thing that didn't hold up for me, and I noticed it on this rewatch, Cody. There's a scene where Bob alludes to being divorced.
Yes.
And he explains why. He says there's two kinds of people in this world. People who love Neil Diamond and people who don't. And his ex-wife loved Neil Diamond. Now, Cody, Bob not liking Neil Diamond's a major red flag for me. Sweet Caroline's a national treasure. Forever in Blue Jeans, a banger. The man wrote Coming to America. This isn't charming. Bob is the guy who left a marriage because his wife had taste. I might be team Dr. Marvin just because of this.
Exactly.
All right, Pastor's Corner. There's something going on in this movie that has to do with Dr. Marvin that I don't think gets focused on. I think it gets missed because everybody's kind of focused on the comedy.
What about Bob, sir? What about Bob?
It is about Bob. I know. But Dr. Leo Marvin, he isn't a villain. He's not an absent in the way we usually mean it. He's there with his family. He bought this lake house. He's taken the family on a vacation. He's a provider. By every external measure, Dr. Leo is doing the things a good father is supposed to do. And yet his son is super depressed, talking about death all the time. His daughter seems checked out of their relationship. And the whole family lights up around an eccentric stranger named Bob within 24 hours. And why? Cody, it's because Leo isn't really there. Leo is in the room, but Leo is somewhere else. Mm-hmm. He's thinking about his book. He's thinking about Good Morning America. He's thinking about his legacy. And Leo isn't unlike a lot of dads, I sense. A high importance placed on careers and achievements and believing that's the legacy they're leaving, all the while missing that the actual legacy is being missed in the day-to-day opportunities of presence. Siggy, his son, doesn't need Leo to be famous. Siggy needs Leo to look at him when he's talking. Bob shows up and gives the family what Leo doesn't, actual attention. And the tragedy of Dr. Leo isn't that he's a bad man. The tragedy is that he would have considered himself a good father by every metric that he chose to measure. He was providing, he was achieving, and he was missing it all, Cody.
Yep.
And it's all about presence. And I can't think of presence without thinking of this quote by hospital chaplain J.S. Park. He said this: "I've been a hospital chaplain now for years. I've been at hundreds of deathbeds. And I want to tell you something I've witnessed. At a deathbed, if my patient can communicate, they show they're dying two deaths. The one they're dying, and then the death of the life they really wanted to live." Cody, at some point in our lives, if we're lucky, we realize what was most important: presence. And it's better to learn that earlier than later. And that's why I think that's the whole hidden theme of this movie, is that Dr. Marvin's probably not a bad guy. He just focused on all the wrong things.
He is. So my pastor's corner moment. I usually don't take one of these.
Yeah, hit me. There's lots of themes here.
There are, and like if this was a church specific group, I have one that would hit the church hard. But this is from the sermon that I preached and was suggested this movie several years ago. Romans chapter 5. "Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us." Basically, that you have to go through these hard moments, these trials, these fears, these anxieties, to produce endurance and character that leads to hope. So then when bigger trials do come up, you can look back and say, I survived this one. I can get through this one as well.
Yeah.
And baby steps, like, I got to go through the process to build up this character and hope. If you're ever wondering why people say it builds character,
Yep.
it's referencing that.
Also represented in the character of Dr. Leo.
Yes.
Bob's not here to make your life hell.
Nope.
He's here, and yes, he's hard for you to deal with, but by the end of the movie, and they actually show it slightly,
Yes.
that it helps Dr. Leo become a better person.
Until he's suing.
Yeah. They ruin it. They ruin it in the captions.
Yes.
All right, Cody. Winner of the movie. Who's your winner of the movie?
Mrs. Gutman.
Tell me why it's Mrs. Gutman.
Because she's not afraid to say what she thinks. She might be the most mentally healthy, aware person throughout the movie, that she's like, you know what? I really wanted to retire and buy this home. Then this rich guy comes in and buys it. I tell him my issues. He just waves me off. Now I'm just going to sit back and observe this train wreck that is Bob and Dr. Leo.
Mrs. Gutman, by the way, who's passed. She was born in 1925, died in 2009. The actress's name is Susan Willis. She was in a couple big movies. The Faculty.
Oh, that is a big movie.
The 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas. She-Devil with Meryl.
What?
Yeah, she's been in some things. So, yeah, there you go. The Majestic with Jim Carrey.
That one was a delightful movie.
Yeah. My winner of the movie is Bill Murray, and it's not close. I talked about it in What Holds Up, so I'm not going to belabor it here. But here's the thing. This movie simply doesn't exist without him. Tom Hanks turned it down. Robin Williams was considered. Either of those guys would have made a fine version of this movie, but I think Bill Murray is the reason that people still quote it 35 years later. Bob Wiley should be unbearable on paper, but Bill Murray makes him a national treasure. And it's an iconic performance. It's peak Bill Murray, and it's the reason people still watch it. Bill Murray.
What if it was Robin Williams and you had Jack playing Dr. Leo?
I mean, it could have been a great movie, just completely different. More manic, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I would pay for that movie.
I would like to see it. Who's your loser of the movie?
Gil?
I have a Funko of Gil. To be clear, it's of Bob Wiley holding Gil.
But like Gil has to be trapped in that little container for most of the first and half of the second act. And then like Gil just gets completely forgotten about for the last half of the movie. You don't see Gil.
Well, he's a goldfish, so Gil forgot it too.
Tragic. PETA probably wasn't happy about this either.
My loser of the movie is Richard Dreyfuss. Let me be clear about Richard Dreyfuss. He's a legendary actor. The Goodbye Girl, Jaws, Mr. Holland's Opus, Close Encounters, American Graffiti. Like, this is a guy who will get a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Academy someday. He's a master of the craft. And in this movie, Bill Murray makes him seem terrible, both on screen and in real life.
Yeah.
Because even when I tell you all the details about their feud, you're still like, well, he seems kind of stuck up. And that's because of how much we just like Bill Murray. On screen, Dreyfuss played this smarmy, kind of self-absorbed guy so well that audiences spend the whole movie rooting against him. And off screen, Murray was tormenting him, screaming, "Everyone hates you" in his face. The man delivers one of the great straight man performances of the 90s, and he walks away from it traumatized. He spent 35 years trying to make peace with this movie, and I don't think he's ever quite gotten there. He's a legendary actor, but he's my loser of the movie, Richard Dreyfuss.
I'm sticking with Gil.
Do you want to know something crazy? I didn't know I was going to share this, but I read this in my preparation. He actually walked into Bill Murray's brother's restaurant. Like I didn't know this, but they have some restaurant, and he was hoping they could pass on a message that he wanted to bury the hatchet with Bill, that he wasn't harboring animosity with him, and he wanted to just talk it out and say all the things he wanted to say. And Bill Murray never got back to him.
That doesn't shock me either.
So, yeah. How many baby steps out of 10 are you giving this movie, Cody?
I think, because I didn't watch this as a kid. This was not on TNT or TBS growing up. So this is adult eyes that
Yeah, you have no nostalgia meters hanging on.
No, this is a 6.5.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have written in my notes. And even when this came out, there was always something about this movie that I wasn't totally down with all the time. Like, listen, Groundhog Day is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Groundhog Day, and I love Bill Murray in it. I love Caddyshack. I love Stripes.
Where the Buffalo Roam.
I think Ghostbusters would have been a far worse movie with Belushi instead of Bill Murray. I think Bill Murray had to be in that movie. I love Bill Murray, but this movie being like one of the movies mentioned as his peak Bill Murray movies, there's always a part of that where I'm like, I don't know. He's great in it. I just don't think the movie holds up very well.
No, especially that third act.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's what we got. That's all we got, Cody.
That's it. I'm out.
What did you guys think of What About Bob? Is it one of your favorite Bill Murray movies, or could you do without it? Let us know what you think.
And where is Bob's Burgers in this?
We'll see you next time.